I am Raziel.
What's up, guys? Raziel here, and this is my tank guide to E1S, Eden 1 Savage mode. This is going to be from a tank perspective, and I'm only going to be really covering tank mechanics. However, it's a walkthrough more than a guide where I go through each and every mechanic, but you'll see the entire fight from beginning to end. This is my first clear that I did of it live on stream, but yeah. So as a tank, you're always going to be positioned on A or B. That's going to be your main marker, your main location. I was assigned to A in this situation. The first mechanic you see that comes out here, and I assume you guys, is Eaton's Gravity here, which is a room-wide AoE. I'm going into this guide expecting that everybody, for the most part, is familiar with normal. If you're not familiar with normal, please do that first and get familiar with the mechanics, because a lot of them are the same and changed. Then you have Vice and Virtue. Now, Vice and Virtue throughout the fight is going to be a mechanic that changes what it does, but it does it in a very specific order. So as you see here, the DPS got targeted with it, nothing to worry about. The tank, they just spread it out. Eaton's Flare, you just saw, you need to get in close in order to avoid that. Eaton's Flare is always going to be the same, it always does that. So the next Vice and Virtue, as you can see here, it targets both of us as tanks. You're going to need to use some tank cooldowns here to survive this hit and split. See, we take the hit there, and then we continue on DPS. Now, Spear of Paradise, this is the tank buster. Now, you can choose to handle this several different ways. We chose in this particular group to have the main tank, who was the Paladin at that point, just go ahead and take it with Hollowed Ground. Now, here you see we get past a bleed. This is a prey marker, and we got past the bleed on that Vice and Virtue. Tanks need to take that bleed, so just stay on your mark, and the healers should be targeted with the prey and then drop it off on you. Make sure you hit cooldowns, because the bleed and the initial hit itself are very strong. Now, Delta Attack. Delta Attack is the exact same as it is in normal mode right here for the first time. However, there are no markers. So you're assigned to a corner. As you can see, I was there. As a melee, I sat in the just behind the A to not get hit and not close enough to my partner there. Dimensional Rift, bunch of room-wide AoE hitting everybody, and you're going to be assigned to a puddle here, a white orb. As you'll see, the one I'm assigned to, you'll figure that out with your group beforehand. You need to stand behind it like so that none of the beams hit the middle of the room, as you saw us do there. So melee and tank should generally stay in the middle there and aren't targeted by that AoE that you saw, the ground effects that the ranged DPS and healers were able to kite out. Another dimensional shift, so make sure you're healed up for all dimensional shifts, because that does quite a bit of damage, as you can see there. Once you get through that first phase, that was pretty much phase one, he is going to do his Fragor Maximus ability, doing a lot of damage, and then you're going to run to the south here, as you see my group does. Now it's going to spawn two ads, excuse me. I'm going to take the left ad because I'm assigned to A. If you're assigned to B, you're going to take the right ad. Very straightforward. Grab your ad as a tank and move it to the center of the room, but you want to face it away from the other tank, as you see us do here. And you need to interrupt that first cast that the ad does. If you do not interrupt that first cast, it will be a wipe. So as the tank, it's generally your job to throw up the silence to stop that cast. You'll never try to cast that ability, that interruptible ability, again. And none of his other abilities are interruptible. Just make sure you're hitting your cooldowns for the tank busters. You can see there, just a light cooldown is fine for each tank buster. And then you cleave them down as a group. Easy peasy, lemon fucking squeezy. There it is. Cleave down as a group. And then you want to get healed up really quick. You don't have much time for your healers to get heals out. If you have a way to help heal yourself, please do so. And then we get the giant boss ultimate ability. Now, from this point on, you're going to see him do the mechanics that are going to come out much faster. However, they're going to be different variations of the mechanics you saw already. Ultimately, you just need to do the fight enough to kind of memorize what order they come in. It's really not that difficult. It'll seem overwhelming at first, but I will do my best as the tank here, starting off tank, to explain it. It's going to come in quite quickly, so bear with me. You'll see what's going on with this fight. So as soon as the ultimate ability here finishes up, and we all get dropped. Go back to your mark, whether it's A or B as a tank. Okay, and now the same. Keep in mind we're going to have some similar partners as the people the same partners that we had for the Delta attack. We're going to have here. Now he's going to cast this ability, which means he's changed up everything. Vice and Virtue. It's going to target both tanks. What ultimately needs to happen, as you can see here, is the other groups that you had assigned at the beginning of the fight need to be standing in front of you. As the target of the attack, if you're hit first as the tank, it's going to kill you. So everyone needs to stand in front of you. Next, another Vice and Virtue where you're going to stand in pairs on each group. Your assigned partner, it's going to hit you, and just like that, and they're going to go back. Next, he's going to do another Delta attack, but it's going to be different. Tanks, you need to stand in close, and all the rest of your group needs to stack on each other in the back, and it's just going to hit you like that. Use cooldowns there as well. Now, the next Vice and Virtue is another prey marker, but the DPS are supposed to keep this. They're not supposed to pass it to the tank. If they pass it to the tank, the boss will one-shot the tank. So if they're passing you the bleed there, that's bad. Now here's Spirit Paradise. I just taunted in the middle of the cast and shirked the Paladin so that I take a hit and he takes a hit, and we just tank swapped there. I could have done Living Dead there if we had chose to do that, but we chose not to because you get a damage down ability when you do so. Another Dimensional Shift. Now here's where a lot of groups fuck up, but as a tank you don't have to worry about much other than killing your marker's meteor ball, as you can see me doing here, while staying as far away as you can. Don't get too close to the white orbs. The DPS and ranged are baiting those orbs. If done correctly, it'll do it like it does here, where you see none of the beams actually hit the center of the room. But that responsibility is not on you as a tank. That's completely up to DPS. And if you're a DPS or a healer watching this, yeah, you probably should watch a different guide for those specific mechanics. This is a tank guide. Anyway, moving on. Dimensional Shift from white AoE. Now that that's over, he's going to go back to his Phase 1 mechanics. So you're pretty much repeating Phase 1 again. So you have Eaton's Gravity, then he's going to do Eaton's Flare, anytime now, there it is. Eaton's Flare, so you stack up close. Then he's going to come out with his next mechanic here. Vice and Virtue. As you can see, it's the split mechanic for tanks again, so it's the same one that it used to be. And you're going to cool down this respectively. Another Tank Buster, another Tank Swap. He taunts right in the middle. I shirk him. And he has aggro again. Another Vice and Virtue. So this time, though, the DPS are going to make sure they place these puddles at the cardinal positions so that we don't die during Delta attack. But you handle this Delta attack the exact same as you did the first one in the fight, where I get a little greedy there, and then I back up. We all get hit, go back in. Simple shit. Alright, Vice and Virtue again, the bleeds again. So this is going to be the tank bleeds. Hit a cooldown or two. This hits very fucking hard, as you can see there. Now this time, though, instead of teleporting away like he did in Phase 1, he is going to do another Dimensional Shift immediately, and you're going to have to deal with the rotating orb phase again. Handle it the exact same way you did the first time. Just kill your orb as fast as you can while staying away from the white orb so you don't accidentally become the target for it. You want to make sure it stays the target for the ranged and the healers. And then if it's done correctly, as we did it here, we have to DPS that down, but the beams never go in the center of the room. We're able to continue damaging. Everything is fine. He does Pure Light. Pure Light works exactly the same as it did in normal mode. Just get behind him. Kind of a pro tip too to help keep uptime up. If you don't have your distance closing ability, you can always preemptively prop Sprint to continue hitting him while he teleports. You can keep up with him with Sprint. Okay, now he's going to do his ability again where he shifts the mechanics up again to being the Phase 2 ones. He's going to do Eaton's Gravity first. Big room wide AoE. Then he is going to go ahead and do his Eaton's Flare, so you stack up. It always goes Eaton's Gravity, Eaton's Flare. It's always going to go in that order. Now he's going to do his shift to make those mechanics change again. The spell he casts to tell you he's shifting is Paradise Regained. When he does Paradise Regained, you know the next mechanics he does are going to be swapped to the Phase 2 mechanics. So as you can see here, Vice and Virtue, he targets the 2 tanks. The other groups that are assigned stay in front of me and the Paladin, so they're hit first. And you handle that fine. Then we stick with our partners. The next Vice and Virtue, stick with your partner on your mark. Easy peasy, no fucking problem. And now he does his Enrage, and there you go, just like that. So watch this guide over and over again if you're a tank and you're learning to do E1S Savage. It's as a tank, especially, it's not too hard of a fight. You just gotta, you know, feel the pain and go through it. But thanks guys so much for the support. I really appreciate it. If this video helped you out, please like and subscribe, and also, you know, hit the alert bell so you know when I have new content going up. Follow me on Twitch, as you can see on the screen now. But thank you so much, guys. Once I have E2 Savage down, I will post about that. But as always, my friends, keep it real.